Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me. My name is Mara Harden, and this is our Christian Mindfulness weekly video link. Today, we're going to talk about something that's really close to my heart, and that is one of the main tasks of mindfulness is being present focused. And it is one of those situations of, in mindfulness, our present focus is our present focus is perhaps not the main thing that we would do in Christian mindfulness. It's actually more our presence focus. Because in every moment, in every present moment that we live on this earth, we are always surrounded by God. God's presence is near us. He's just that far from us. And there is a space for turning our awareness to God. And I call this an awareness to God's presence. Now, you might say, okay, well, I need to feel God's presence to know that God's presence is there. But God is omnipresent. That means he is everywhere. In fact, Psalm 139 says that there's nowhere you can go to get away from God's presence. And somewhere in Ecclesiastes, and repeated again in Acts, where Paul is talking to the Athenians, he says, God is near you, just near you. We all have that capacity to turn our awareness to God being present in every moment, whether we feel him or whether we feel him not. So today's video is on God's presence. Now, I was probably an unusual child. I was a person who liked to walk by myself. Even when I was a young child, I would go for long walks. And in my walks, I would talk to God. I became a Christian when I was 7. I got baptized in water when I was 8. I had an immersive baptism in the Holy Spirit when I was 14. And I heard God's voice. Not always, but I heard God's voice, a still small voice, in occasions and moments of my life. But I knew God was present. And I knew even in times of when I've been in sin, when I've done things that I have felt ashamed of, I knew that God saw that and that God was my audience. So in my late teen years, I came across a book by Brother Lawrence called Practicing the Presence of God. And really it was, Brother Lawrence was sort of a kin person. You know, I felt like a kinship to him and what he described about his day-to-day activities. Now, I wasn't as practiced as he was of bringing and tuning my attention to God, but it became my life mission to bring my attention to God in the everyday. So today I was going to share a little story of how this sort of happens in just life-to-life activities. I remember many years ago, actually, our family went for a holiday to Tasmania. In fact, I've been looking forward to a holiday in Tasmania this year. It's already been transferred 2 times to another date. And so it's coming. I'm looking forward to it in maybe July. But in this holiday a few years ago, all of our children were there, and we were going there from the last days of one year, and we were going into the first week of the new year. And at the time, my church decided to embark on an ambitious project where we would all read the Bible, the New Testament at least, together, that we would all take a chapter of the New Testament and that we would read it and do our own personal devotions in the same chapter, and that there would be sermons each week that were related to the readings. And I remember jollying my family along and packing my Bible and saying how excited I was that as a family we would be reading the Bible each night, one chapter a night. Well, wouldn't you have it, that first night, I couldn't find my Bible. I couldn't find it at all. I knew I'd packed it. I searched high and low in the hotel room. I looked through my bag. I couldn't find it. So I thought, oh, well, tomorrow morning I'll have to go for a walk and find a new Bible. Now, I didn't tell you something else, that a few days before we left home, I had been searching high and low for an address, a phone number, for a friend that I had met many years ago who was a friend of my mother's, long past now, but a lady that I've come to know as my own friend. And I knew I had her address somewhere. And I was sure I'd written it in a journal, and I couldn't find it. And I remember when I got onto that plane going, God, if I'm meant to meet with Silpa, will you please arrange it? Well, this is how God works. This is part of the God things that happen in life. I remember after losing my Bible on that Wednesday night, getting up the Thursday morning with my son and going for a walk in Hobart City and saying, let's go find a bookstore so I can find a new Bible so we can continue our Bible challenge, reading through the New Testament as a family. And I went to the first bookstore and I couldn't believe it. They had no Bibles. I thought every bookstore would have a Bible somewhere, but as it was, there was no Bibles. I asked the attendant and they said, well, you could go and look at the Christian bookstore. It's only a few streets away. And I thought, oh, why didn't I Google that first? Anyway, we walked a few streets away and I found the Christian bookstore. And I thought, okay, this is my opportunity to buy a version I don't have anymore. So I looked and I found it, the Message Bible. And in fact, this Message Bible, which is right here. And I bought this Bible in Hobart. My son was still in the store and I went to the counter to pay. And I remember turning around to call my son to come to me because I was about to leave. And there behind me, was Sirpa, the lady I'd been looking for her address. She'd been in the store and she hadn't even recognized it was me standing in front of her. And I knew that God had organized that for me. God had heard my inner prayer of finding Sirpa. And, you know, she'd changed her name between the time that I had seen her a few years before. So she wasn't even in the telephone book anymore. She was now under her maiden name. And so there were a lot of reasons why I couldn't find her. But God knew and God organised it. Sirpa had come early to Hobart for a medical appointment that day. And she thought, I'm going to just duck into this Christian bookstore to buy my daughter a present at the same time as I was there to purchase my Bible. You know, we had a lovely time that holiday. We connected and we had laughed and joined together in going to church. And, you know, it cemented my friendship with her. I've made sure I have got her address now. But, you know, the funny thing is, I found my Bible, the one that I packed, and it was in my car. It had slid under my seat. I don't even remember taking it out of my bag. But I wonder sometimes if maybe an angel did that just so that I'd go hunting for a Bible that Thursday morning and meet up with Sirpa. Well, I'm just talking this stuff about present focus. In every moment that we go through life, God is present. Now, we disqualify ourselves from looking for God. We compare ourselves to others and we think God's not interested. But God made you specifically. He created you to have a connection with him. He's just waiting for you to turn your attention to him. He's just waiting and longing for that intimate walk in the garden like he had with Adam and Eve. And we can do this now because Jesus has purchased for us the righteousness so that we can walk with God. We can talk with God without fear, without shame, without guilt, without condemnation. God is present and He's just waiting for you to turn to Him today. That's it for today's Christian mindfulness video. I just pray that you will take a moment to share with us your journey in just turning your attention to the God who is just there and what comes as an outcome. God bless you.